Hey everybody, it is Trags Mike Petralia alongside my partner Richard Skinner, Skinny of Local 12 and Local12.com, with this special episode of the Jungle Roar podcast following an end of the season press conference from Bengals Director of Player Personnel, Duke Tobin. Skinny, we don't often get a chance to speak with Duke Tobin, and he made reference to that on Friday afternoon. But he wanted to reach out to the fans, and I thought what was interesting, he came out with a notepad. He came out prepared to deliver about 4 or 5 minutes of an address to the fans. And one of the first things he said is, I hear you fans. I understand why you're upset, and I would be upset as well. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing here. But what were your takeaways from his opening statement?
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to appease the fans. He talked about how he feels humbled to work in his hometown and work for the Bengals. This is the only job he ever wanted, and it was almost like a cry, like, "Hey, man, don't run me out of my job." But I go back to this. I mean, it was nice of him. He spent an hour and 3 minutes with us. We asked, I think, just about everything you could ask. I know some people would rather us just go up there and probably stab him in the eye, but that was not going to happen. There were some hard questions. There were some questions off the wall. It was a lot. But I also didn't think he said anything. Like, he did point the finger of blame at himself for some of this. I mean, I asked him the question of, you talked about how you believe in your scouting staff and the people in the building, and yet you've missed the playoffs 3 straight years. You've only gone 2 of the last 10 years. Why should fans believe in you or this staff? And I think it's a fair question. And, I got kind of a roundabout answer to that question. Jason Williams, the Enquirer, followed up by asking him, why do you think you should even still be in your job? And he said, well, I believe in myself. That's great. You should believe in yourself. We all should believe in ourselves. But it's hard for anybody to believe in you when 2 of the last 10 years is all you've gone to the playoffs. I mean, that's a long window. You can't keep going, well, we did it right once and went to the Super Bowl. Great. But you've only been to the playoffs twice in 10 years. That's not a great track record, bro.
No, it's not. And there are many things about the scouting department that he was on the defensive about.
Very much.
He really does believe that the people he has working for him and with him are the right people to turn it around. And I don't think he ever got to the heart of the reason as to why any fan would want to believe that. And I think that's where there's a disconnect here. This was very performative on Friday, and
very much
give them full marks for making Duke Tobin available for 63 minutes. However, there are questions that don't get asked in a press conference type of environment that do get asked when you have the chance to talk to him maybe one-on-one, or even if there are a group of beat reporters like ourselves talking 5 or 6 people in a room with Duke Tobin, and there's a back and forth. There was really none of that here on Friday.
Yeah, he alluded a couple times to the fact of the defense getting better and young players improving, and I believe some of that. I mean, the stats don't lie. Since the bye week, the defense did statistically get better. There was, Miles Murphy did get better. I don't know to what degree Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter got better, but I think they got better because the defense as a whole got better. But I also got to tell you this, man, don't applaud all that stuff when you won 3 games after the bye week, Mike. Baltimore, losing record. Miami, losing record. Arizona, losing record. So what did you accomplish after the bye? Talked about how these guys were fighting to the end and proud of the way they that would make me go, do you really understand what the problem is, my man?
Well, more to the point is you don't get marks and future contracts and victories in the left-hand column for trying hard. This is the National Football League, and he said a lot of the same things, a lot of the right things, I thought, Skinny. But when he was asked point blank about his job security, he said, and I want to get the quote here right, there's no comfort zone in the front office or for the front office personnel, himself included. Nobody believes that.
Nobody believes that.
Correct. And I think not that he has to convince every single fan that his job is in jeopardy and he feels the heat. He doesn't have to do that. He just has to show fans that he's got the wherewithal and the support of ownership to expand the scouting department in addition to going out and spending up to the salary cap, let's say spending 70 million, 80 million, 90, whatever the figure is this offseason on the defense.
Yeah, and I go back to this. Is it okay to miss the playoffs every once in a while? Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen in this league. I mean, the Chiefs had that great run of a dynasty, and they didn't make the playoffs. Sometimes things just peter out. But we're talking a 10-year period. You've gone twice, and you want to tell me you've done it right? And you can't then say, well, don't forget the last 4 years before this 10-year run, we went to the playoffs, or last 5 years, we went to the playoffs 5 straight times. Yes, you did. And you didn't win a single game. I did think we kind of got an answer to where the buck stops in decision making, and I think it does stop with Duke, but he used the term collaborative a lot in this press conference, and I think a couple of different questions were asked about, okay, let's just say it's player A that you like and player B that Zach and the coaches like. Well, we talk it through and it's a collaborative. Well, maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe it's too damn collaborative. Maybe somebody needs to say, I appreciate your all's input, but I'm making the decision here. The buck stops, period, with me. I want that guy. Instead, you're still left with, so they talk about this, and finally Duke comes to a consensus and says, yeah, I think that's the guy we'll go with. Is that what you really want?
Okay, well, another huge takeaway I had from today's press conference, Skinny, was the fact that he believes that the essential problem with the 2025 Bengals wasn't necessarily the talent, although they definitely need to add talent in the offseason. He didn't say that. But he believes that the problem with the Bengals is they don't know how to finish games. And it was fascinating to me, his comment about we must get breakdowns at critical moments out of our DNA. And then I asked him, well, okay, if that's the case, that usually indicates coaching and how teams are prepared at the end of games. What do you think of Zac Taylor? And he was like, well, they are, but end of games and losing is on all of us. Well, it is and it isn't. When you're singling out the inability to finish games, that is specifically laying the blame at the feet of the coaching staff and the players.
Yeah, but then he also said, I see these guys coaching every day. They're great teachers. 95% of the time, the players are doing things technically correct. It's the 5%. I think if that's what you believe, then you're missing the big picture of your roster not being good enough. Like, I get you've lost 12 one-score games the last 2 years. I've noted that in columns. I know you have too. We've all noted that. It is a fact. But some of that is because you're just not good enough. Last year, Jaden Daniels throws a pass against the blitz because a corner just isn't good enough. This year, the pass to Colston Loveland, Geno Stone, Fig Newton, Jordan Battle on that play just weren't good enough. Was it a simple breakdown? No, just not good enough. And so that's where I go back to, if you really are going to buffalo yourself like you did last year, like you lost a bunch of one-score games, you won the last 5 in a row, and you feel like you're making steps forward, we just kind of need a new voice in that defensive room. So Lou Anarumo, here's your parting gift. Let's bring in Al Golden, and that'll change everything. And it didn't. And I think, again, Al was hamstrung. We'll both agree with that, Mike. I mean, he was. This was not an Al Golden problem this year. It could be moving forward, but it was not this year. If you buffalo yourself in again thinking, well, we got better as the year went on. We won some games when Joe Burrow came back. We're really close. No, you're really not. I mean, you need an infusion of talent on that defense. And if you don't believe that's the case, you're going to be sadly mistaken. And then the problem is, he made this point too of they paid for their stars, right? They paid for T, and they paid for Jamar, and they paid for Joe, and this year they paid for Trey Hendrickson, although he was hurt. That's right. You pay for your stars, and then it is essential that you have guys on their first 4-year contract, their initial rookie contract, to produce at a high level. They're not all going to, but you need a good chunk of them to, and you just haven't had enough of those either. And so this offseason, you're going to have to dip back into free agency, and you're going to have to get it right. And I think the other part to this, too, is to your part of the comfortability. Like, neither one of us believe that there's nobody pressing the issue here above these guys. I got to be honest, if this fails again miserably, there's no way you can run this back. I think somebody asked, I can't remember who it was, do you think, I think it was Charlie Clifford, I think of the WLWT asked, could this be the end of the regime? And he didn't like the word regime. I mean, he kind of condescendingly laughed it off. But it has to be. This is it. You got one more chance. You shouldn't probably even get one more chance. But there can't be any more chances of getting it right than this offseason. If you don't get it right, you gone.
See, I don't believe that, Skinny. I think with the Brown family and the Blackburn family, if they've demonstrated one thing, they could go 3-14 next year, and Duke Tobin
probably
will be
right.
back.
You're probably right.
That's what infuriates Bengals.
That's
fans.
sobering.
And, and Duke today kind of answered that question when he said that I absolutely feel the disheartening, emotions of the fans because we're all disheartened. Well, great. But is
Yeah.
your job really at stake? And I just didn't get the sense, reading
And
between the lines, that it is.
And I go back to, why do you believe you are capable of fixing this? Why should the fans believe you're capable of fixing this? This
Because
isn't
he's been
one
in
miss.
it his whole life.
Great, good for you.
That was his answer.
I know it was. I know. But that goes back to, you haven't had good enough rosters to go into the postseason 8 times out of the last 10 years. And you've been responsible for that. Why would I then think, hey, this guy's going to fix it in an offseason when he hasn't done it consistently enough? Yeah, you got it fixed in 2021. You signed Trey Hendrickson. You signed a couple of offensive linemen. You did do some things that offseason. And you got a Super Bowl and an AFC championship run out of it. But then you've had 3 straight draft classes that should be contributing major side of the defensive football. You've had a couple, DJ Turner and Dax Hill. And that's about it. And a little bit of Miles Murphy, who we're still not sure about yet. At least he showed he's somewhat capable. Other than that, I mean, 2nd round Chris Jenkins, 3rd round McKinley Jackson, 1st round Shamar Stewart, 3rd round Joseph Osai, 2nd round Demetrius Knight, 4th round Barrett Carter, 3rd round Jordan Battle, free agent signing Geno Stone, free agent signing Nick Scott. I mean, you've had a chance to get it right. And listen, I don't expect you to always get it right. But in a 3-year window, you better get it more right than wrong.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to move on to Joe Burrow now. And I don't think Joe Burrow, midway through the season, had any confidence that this organization was going to get it right.
I agree with you.
Do what is essentially necessary and have the football brain power in the front office to make the tweaks to get it right. I just don't think Joe Burrow believed that. And I think that's one of the reasons. And there may have been other personal things in Joe Burrow's life that he was dealing with. That's all well and good, and I'm not going to go down that path. But I don't believe, based on what Joe Burrow told us on a couple of occasions, at least, once midweek and once after a game or two, that he believes that there is enough football brain power to make the adjustments in the offseason to make him a happier, more successful quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's saying the right things. He also said that we need to fix it, whatever it is. I think we all know what the it is. It's the defensive side of the football, and that's right. You need to fix it. And that's where I just don't have faith, based on certainly recent track record, that this group can fix it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope for Bengals fans watching this that I am totally wrong, that they nail it like they did in the 2021 offseason. Like, nobody really knew how good Trey Hendrickson was, and the Bengals took a flyer on him, and credit to them, they got that one completely right. You know, they took little Mike Hilton, got that one completely right. Year before, took Von Bell, got that one completely right. But then over time, you can't, even Duke said today, you can't always fix everything through free agency. You're right, you can't. You got to hit on drafts, and you haven't hit enough of that.
Well, and what it feels like he's saying in 2020 and 2021, the stars align. Bengal fans don't want to hear that. Bengal fans don't want to hear, well, maybe if we get lucky and go 3 for 4 in free agency, most of our problems will be solved. Because it sounds like you're wishing for players to fit into certain roles with the Bengals instead of going out scouting a player. He fits into our system. This is why. This is what he can provide. Now, they very well may do that, and they very well may, in all of their offseason work that the Bengals are just starting right now this week, as Tobin mentioned today, they may be trying to assess players like that. But too often it sounds like the Bengals get lucky and win the lottery. They get a Joe Burrow, and then they get the right free agents, and then go on a 2-year run. One thing I did not get a chance to ask Duke Tobin today is, why isn't this organization, you've been here since 1999, why can it not sustain success? Certainly there was the 5-year playoff run with Andy Dalton, A.J. McCarron in 2015. There was that 5-year run, but as we all well know, Marvin Lewis went 0-7 in playoff games in his tenure here. There is no sustained championship level here in Cincinnati.
No, I mean, go back to the 81 team that went to the Super Bowl, the 82 team that went to the playoffs the next year and lost to the Jets. And then suddenly the wheels fall off in 83. Forrest Gregg gets fired. And then Sam Weiss can't quite get over the hump until he finally does in 1988. And that was obviously a great, great team. But then they middle to the playoffs, 2 years later, and suddenly 91 started the dark decade of the 90s, right? Well, this time around, you went to the Super Bowl in 2021. You went to the championship game in 2022, and now you haven't gone to the playoffs 3 straight years. To your point, it isn't sustainable. So why won't you do different things? To the point of, again, Duke was asked today, what about adding to your scouting staff? Not gonna. We don't need to do that. Why don't you need to do that? Why do you think your way is the right way when it isn't consistently the right way? And I'm not just talking about that with Duke. I'm talking about that with the family above him. Why do you think your way works when it doesn't consistently work?
It's all collaborative.
Yes, it is.
Ultimately, this is Mr. Brown's team. Your thoughts on what
Right.
On that comment?
No, and I think that's right. I don't think Mike is involved in total day-to-day, and he's not there on draft night going, this is the guy we're going to take. But, yeah, I mean, if Mike Brown wanted to send a message, either Duke Tobin or Zac Taylor would have been fired. That would have been that the fan base was looking for blood, and they probably deserve some here. I mean, you had John Harbaugh have finally a losing season after all the success he had in Baltimore, including winning the Super Bowl. And they said, you know what? It's just time, man. It's time. And it probably is. It probably was. If Mike Tomlin loses in the first round of the playoffs, it probably is time in Pittsburgh. It's probably past time for a lot of fans there. Sean McDermott's probably coaching for his Buffalo job in the playoffs. In the playoffs, Mike. And we're supposed to be satisfied with 3 straight years of not going to the playoffs, and in fact, watching a roster, especially on the defensive side, go this way on the arc. We're supposed to then have faith in that getting fixed by this group? No, thank you. I'm not going to throw the faith there.
Anything else stand out to you about what he said or didn't say? I asked him about Dax Hill and DJ Turner and them being possible cornerstones, and then he had the funny remark, we need more Stones.
Yes, you do.
And
no Geno, except for Geno Stones.
Bingo.
Yeah.
No more Geno Stones. But I think there's a possibility that the Bengals would get extensions done with both of those cornerbacks. They are, as he mentioned today, 2 cornerbacks who showed that they are top of their class in the NFL.
But I think Paul Dehner asked not something similar, but along those lines of extending these 2 guys of as opposed to what's happened the last few off seasons where Jamar and T dragged out. The Jesse Bates situation a few years ago dragged out. Trey obviously dragged out. That the message maybe this would send to get this done for these 2 guys to get extended sooner rather than later, even before. Now, they're neither one are free agents. They're both, for the record, under contract through 2026. But that's the time normally you want to try to get an extension if you're a player, is that going that last year of your contract. I think that would show maybe a commitment of, hey, these are, to your point, you asked, do you consider them cornerstones? Yeah, and they are. I mean, there's no question that they are. But the way you prove that they're cornerstones is go ahead and get these extensions done. Don't let it drag into August and then to the season go, yeah, we're not going to negotiate this stuff in season, and then it becomes another big distraction, and here we are again. And again, prove it, organization. Prove that you are committed to doing the right things, and that would be one of the I shouldn't say small right things. That would be one of the right things to do quickly this offseason. Hey, sign Dalton Reisner tomorrow. I mean, get that thing done. That would prove something. But instead, I'll bet you this gets dragged out to the point where we're talking about this probably in April and May and June and July.
And the answers will be the same.
Yes.
It was interesting. Duke Tobin was asked, does it feel like you're wasting this championship window? That is a common refrain among Bengal fans.
Oh, for sure.
His answer, it's the Bengals, and when we don't win a championship, that's the only thing I'm after is a championship. It's not any individuals in this building's championship. It's the Cincinnati Bengals championship. I'll fast forward about 5 minutes. Why hasn't it worked when Joe Burrow has gone down and said that this team is good enough to overcome? That's obviously the goal. But it's a team sport. It's not just one person sport. And when one person goes down, you have to have a team that can absorb it, and that's motivating for us to get to that point where we can do that. Thoughts?
And I believe it is motivating. I don't believe these people plan to lose. I don't believe they're trying to lose. I don't believe they're trying to build a bad football team. But the point is, you have. And how many times do you get to take a swipe at with the axe? I just don't know. I don't know why you would believe the fan base will suddenly be galvanized by some of what you said today. Again, I appreciate Duke doing it. I'm glad he did it. Hopefully you got some answers. We kind of knew he was going to tap dance around a lot of stuff. But I don't understand the thought process of an organization when you've now gone 3 straight years of the Joe Burrow era without making the playoffs. That seems unfathomable. And yeah, you could argue, but he was hurt this year. Okay, and he got hurt at the end of 2023. Well, they also went 4-3 without him in 2023. Jake Browning actually did an admirable job. Problem was your record wasn't good enough with him to sustain or to get enough wins to make the playoffs. Then last year he played at an MVP level, man. So I'll throw this back at you. You had him at an MVP level for 17, well, maybe not for all 17 because he wasn't very good in the New England game, but you had him for all 17 games, and he played at an MVP level, and you had to win your last 5 in a row just to have a winning record. You tell me what adds up here, man.
What needs to change, according to Duke Tobin? His answer, our record. I think, Skinny, I know you've got to go. That is a good place to wrap up. Anything you are working on for Local 12 and local12.com?
Yeah, I'm just disappointed in this organization that they keep thinking they can do the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results with the same people. I mean, at some point, something has to change, and I thought Monday, as I mentioned, I wrote a column on Monday that the announcement of Zac Taylor and Duke Tobin coming back was both unsurprising and very uninspiring. Like, you just told the fan base, I don't care that you don't think we can run this organization. We'll show you. We'll bring everybody back intact. Okay, all I'm going to tell you this, Mike, is, I think you'll agree with this, you better get it right this offseason. Your fan base is teetering about right there. Right now they're yelling. I don't think they're in that whole, well, we're not going to go buy tickets and come to games. I don't think they're quite there yet with this. But they're teetering, and they're teetering rightfully so. So, by golly, Duke, if you got whatever you got in you, man, you better find the magic pill and get it right, because you absolutely, if you don't get it right this offseason, you do not deserve another swing at this.
And there's one other person that is watching all of this very closely, and of course, it's number 9, Joe Burrow.
Yep.